So a brief word about why do we need to work in this format, right? So WorkSpan is a provider of an ecosystem cloud. What it means is like LinkedIn that we are very used to. We join a network like LinkedIn, we connect as professionals with one another, and then we are open for collaboration of exchanging ideas. But there was a dearth of an ecosystem, a connected network in the alliance space. So WorkSpan stepped in and in 2014 created the first ever network for alliance professionals to work with one another in the context of their roles in their companies. So that means an alliance manager in company one can reach out to an alliance manager in company two over our network to participate in joint selling, joint marketing, joint solutioning exercises so that the work of an alliance manager can be digitized and hence scaled in a much better way. So if you can imagine, if you can close your eyes and imagine a unified network where not only these companies are members of this network, but those companies with their single sign-on have their employees, their alliance managers as part of this network. So a couple of quick props. Intel was our first customer, then SAP, and they started initially with a joint marketing initiative. Think of it as Intel Inside powering the next generation data center solution. So that one connection got established across the network to connect over 250 marketeers at SAP with 50 plus marketeers at Intel. That was program number one way back in 2014. But then as more modules came online, SAP, for example, started working with GSI partners on WorkSpan, bringing in Accenture, Wipro, Infosys, companies of that caliber onto the WorkSpan network so that they, instead of working on marketing activities alone, they can actually collaborate on joint selling because a lot of GSI activities, global SI activities are collaborative opportunities that these companies pursue to jointly address modern digital transformation needs that their clients may have. And as a result, the network started to get populated more and more. And as different kinds of selling paradigms and alliance paradigms have come across, so for example, it was not just about joint selling. If you think of OEM partners, hardware partners, edge partners, network partners, telecom providers, different kinds and classes of companies started joining the WorkSpan network. And as a result, this has become more densely populated, and eventually it became multi-partner. And multi-partner is really interesting, and Dan will cover more, from a use case perspective. It's not just mutual between one company and the other on a network like this. So imagine on a LinkedIn conversation, let's say a friend of yours asks you and says, "Hey, do you happen to know Dan at Microsoft? And I see a job posting here at Microsoft, and can you introduce me to Dan?" So what you do is you just simply open a direct message line, and three of you are now conversing and say, "Hey, Dan, meet my good friend Scott. I highly recommend Scott for this role." And then Dan says, "Hey, happy to consider this." That's an example of a network in action. Similarly here, if multiple companies actually come together on a network and drive action, this is exactly what the intent for WorkSpan is. So let's peel a layer deeper into what WorkSpan does. It does three essential things. One is it digitizes collaboration, as I mentioned. So as alliance managers can be part of companies, they log in, they sign in with their company identity, which is verified. And once they come in here, they can create a partner program or new sets of joint initiatives with a network of alliance partners. And then it's not very complicated in terms of a portal or things where invitations are hard. In this case, you simply invite another person through an email, and the person can join in, and then you start working. It feels much more like collaborating on Office 365, for example, except that the objects you're collaborating on is not a Word document or an Excel file, but it is business relevant documents such as an opportunity or a solution or a marketing activity. Second piece is really important. As you can imagine, working in an alliance context, ad hoc processes such as sharing with personal productivity tools is pretty well done in the world today. But what is not well done is actually a joint workflow, a common workflow that you will use to move work forward. So WorkSpan is a provider of that way of packaged applications where you can do, for example, in a joint sales plan in WorkSpan, you can create goals and metrics. You can take it from planning to execution as a next step. And in execution, you can have workflows for pipeline management, workflows for marketing management, or workflows for joint co-innovation of solution with your partner network. So this digital processes allow every member of your company in the alliance management function to work with their alliance counterparts, but along well-agreed industry benchmark processes. And of course, you can tweak these processes, but largely these processes are the standard across the network. And lastly, this piece is really, really important, which is digitized data sharing. So as you can imagine on a network like this, companies, these employees from various companies in alliance management roles, they come in here, but they not only come in with their intent and their ability to collaborate, they also have a data model behind them, which means that their own companies may classify opportunities in a certain way, that this opportunity is for enterprise versus mid-market, or in a certain region, or for certain products. So there's a data model behind every single company's participation. And some parts of that data model is private, some part is competitive, some part can be shared. So WorkSpan provides that data sharing layer where every company creates a policy on the network as to what they share securely, privately, or in an open format with their network. And this creates this security layer that allows every person, every alliance manager to be like, a peace of mind that when they securely share an opportunity on our WorkSpan network, that only the fields that their legal teams and their compliance office has cleared. For example, with Microsoft, we had to clear the Microsoft CILA processes, which really take care of the compliance with the partner network. So think of this as a modern partnering framework where you are digitally collaborating on joint processes using shared data. And this is really literally the holy grail of how partnering in this modern context is working. And if you think of a while back, even 5 or 10 years ago, a lot of partnering was actually meeting people. It was about beer and over drinks, or going to each other's offices, or meeting in events. And as these things get challenged, the idea here is that can these processes be moved over electronically over a shared network so that they can scale even in these COVID times. So there are different flavors of partner programs that WorkSpan runs today. We are, of course, going to deep dive with Dan on focused partner communities around partner-to-partner engagement. So I leave that first pillar to Dan to kind of deep dive in the next few slides. Let me briefly set these other 4 up so that in case you have these needs, you can reach out to us and talk to us about it. So Cisco is a great example. In these COVID times, they've actually launched a business resiliency fund. They have multiple initiatives such as big bets, digitize ecosystem ACEs, these kinds of programs. What they do is they create joint solutions with their alliances. So a Cisco and an alliance partner would create a joint solution, but then they use the shared channel to actually take it out to market, and then provide incentives or measure those activities on the WorkSpan network. So this is a great example of how they've been able to be digitally resilient during these times with great programs. Second example is Accenture. Accenture uses WorkSpan for their top 5 partnerships. These are examples of Accenture HPE, Accenture Dell, Accenture Google relationship, Accenture SAP relationship. The idea here is that these companies are coming together to collaborate on what new solution plays they need to launch, especially in these times. Old solutions are not working, they need to package new ones, and WorkSpan becomes a place where new plays, new solutions get packaged. And this is very important. These, especially Accenture is in a lot of early digital transformation initiatives, and they call this pre-stage 0 opportunities. Think of this as pre-pipeline, where people get together and say, it would be a good idea if we digitally transformed X. They've not yet figured out the other partners or the other solution really, but at this point, early stage collaboration really, really kicks in and creates net new opportunities for everybody. The next one is a co-sell program. This is the SAP GSSP program. SAP also runs their OEM program through this model, and also their marketplace focused endorsed applications as well in terms of a joint co-selling workflow on WorkSpan. The idea here is very, very simple. My CRM has a lot of opportunities. My AEs are working on them. But I'd like the partners' help in actually getting to the joint value proposition with the customer, so that there is reduced risk, reduced cost, and all those benefits that come with jointly selling these. And what we have noticed here is, because of collaboration, actually win rates go up the roof. So whenever two good partners align and they execute together, the win rate is much higher than a traditional enterprise rate. And the other coincidental benchmark we found was, in the SAP case, they were able to shave 9 business days from a regular enterprise sales cycle that is typically 9 months long. So pretty good improvement in terms of deal cycle time, as well as win rates, because of collaboration here. And lastly, another use case on the MDF side, this is very, very interesting. If folks who have participated in joint funds management, like a market development fund or a strategic fund initiative, you guys would know this. Typically, a fund is just given away to a channel partner ecosystem. In this case, there's typically a distribution and money outflow. But because we are sitting on top of a network like WorkSpan, we can not only give money, we can also receive money on the network. And the other interesting thing is, just as you would do on a Venmo or a PayPal, two folks can actually combine their funds and then actually give it to a shared channel network. So in this case, what Intel and VMware do is they have a joint channel ecosystem outside, and it's a shared channel. So VMware and Intel combine their funds and offer it to shared partners who are working on Intel architecture, but on VMware-related technologies. So again, a network in action to co-fund channel deployments, so that the channel can actually take the innovation and deploy it much faster, where you can fund POCs and things like that. I'll end with this and hand the baton to Dan. The idea here is, if you think of alliance management as a function where it is usually mutual, of course, we have to do the mutual, the one-on-one, co-sell, co-partner, co-innovate, co-market initiative. But where the ball is actually shifting to is towards an ecosystem. It's actually becoming multi-partner.